Welcome to Lead with Thanks, the bite-sized interview series from Thankbox, where we spotlight leaders who know that appreciation isn't just a nice to have, it's a game changer for workplace culture. My name is Tsvetelina and I'm co-founder of Thankbox, and in each episode I'll be chatting with inspiring leaders and HR professionals who are putting gratitude at the heart of how they lead. Let's get going! Welcome back to Lead with Thanks. I'm absolutely delighted to have Matt Phelan with us today to talk all about appreciation. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
I have been admiring your work from afar for a very long time. Your passion to create a happy workplace is something that I share as well. And it makes me feel super fortunate that you said yes when I invited you to be my guest. So thank you again. I'm super excited. So let's get started.
A pleasure to be here.
So to kick things off, could you share a bit about yourself, about the happiness index, and what makes you so passionate about making workplaces a happy place?
My name's Matt. I'm a dad first. That's my number one job. I've got 2 children, got a daughter and a son. That's the hardest and best bit of my day. Just getting the kids to school on time, all that sort of stuff. Just before this, I was almost late because my son forgot to put his pants on today. And then when we got to school, he said, "Dad, I don't think I've got pants on." So I had to run home. Then he was worried that they were going to call out on the tannoy when I came back, "Your dad's here with your pants." So I had to come up with an excuse that I was just there to talk to him. And then I told the receptionist what was really happening. And then we went into the medical room and solved the situation. So I think being a parent does give you a lot of problem-solving skills that are needed for business. My background was working with animals. I grew up on a farm. My career was sort of using data in the marketing world and customer data. I grew an early sort of like digital marketing company from 2008 to 2016, where we sold it to a big French listed company. So my skill was always like marketing, data, research, but my passion was always culture. Like what makes people tick? Why does someone come and work for you? Why do they not work for you? Why do they leave? Why do they stay? And whilst we were building this growing marketing agency, we built a piece of technology called the Happiness Index. And that became the business that I co-founded and run today, which is collecting data in hundreds of different countries all around the world now. But it came back to us just trying to understand how to best grow this business. Like what's best for business? Like we wanted to treat people well. I believe in things like appreciation. They're important. They're values that were instilled into me as a child by my parents. However, I also wanted to understand the link to business performance as well. So that's where the Happiness Index was born. And we've been doing that for about 11 years now, and every single day we find out something new. It's a totally different type of business, but it's super fun. I'm just an intrigue person. I like people watching. My dream would just be to sit in a coffee shop all day and just watch the world go by and watch human beings do what they do. Like humans are weird, aren't they? But interesting, and I just love people and what we can learn.
Do you create little stories about the people you observe?
I think I probably do actually. I just think it's funny. I'm more watching like how bizarre people are, like
Yeah.
the different ways that people greet each other, the body language that you can observe when someone's annoyed with someone or someone's happy with someone or a date that's not going very well or yeah, I think I probably should do more of that. Do you do that then? Do you create stories?
Yeah, I love observing people as well, but I sometimes
Yeah.
go into these like stories of like, imagine what if this person is this and that and their grannies and their granddads. I just
Yeah,
go
I'm gonna
into a
do that. I
creative
think that's a
mode.
good game. I think I'm gonna build on what I do. But it sounds weird if you say you enjoy people watching, but in the realms of a coffee shop, I think it's a good place to observe the world.
Yeah, it's incredible what you can learn. I love that.
Totally.
Wow, you've got such a diverse background, and I totally agree on what you said about parenthood. Like it teaches you so many different skills, incredibly helpful for business as well.
Yeah, it's
Um,
the hardest job in the world, isn't it?
yeah, it is. Yeah. Um, you obviously have a lot of experience with companies and how they value their people and how they make them seen and feel like they matter. But can you tell me a situation where you were felt truly appreciated at work? What was the situation? Who was involved? How did it make you feel?
Yeah, I think It's an interesting one because you've turned the question around a little bit because I'm normally thinking about other people's appreciation. Interestingly, you feel it deeply as a founder and a CEO when it happens because you're obviously planning for everyone else all the time.
Yeah.
But it does happen and people do say thanks. It can turn a really bad day or really negative situation, or maybe you might be in a bit of a mush at a time. It can totally change the way you think. Like, sometimes it's an employee, sometimes it's a customer, sometimes it's the girls that I coach football to. It's always unexpected for me because I'm not out there seeking it. I guess I'm a human being like everyone else in it, and it's important to me. But it is definitely special. I think the ones that I specifically remember is when we sold our company. A few people wrote me letters about our experience of working together, and I don't really want to go into the details. But when you work with someone, it's quite a deep experience. As in, I spend more time with some of my colleagues than I do with my family, which, as I said, family is the most important thing to me in the world. But these relationships can become quite deep, and you can go through a lot together. You can experience a lot together. How people's lives are happening whilst you're working together, and when someone sometimes it's easy to write an email or whatever, but the things that stick out for me is people that wrote maybe a little letter about something that we'd worked on together or achieved or did together. And I wish I had kept more of them. I've got a few behind there, but I think they're really special when it's, and we'll get into this when it comes to the data, but when someone's taken time to do something, I think that's where it feels really special.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. And I also have a few things from the past that I haven't kept, and I keep remembering, and I remember the visuals of it and the stories that were said, and I regret so much that I didn't keep it. But obviously,
Yeah,
space is limited. Sometimes you have to, you can't keep
yeah.
everything that you get, as long as you keep the memory.
The CEO of one of our clients is just, I don't know if I've got my phone here, he's just got, this isn't planned by the way, no, my phone's not here, but he's just gone on LinkedIn. Oh, here it is. He's just gone on LinkedIn and he's just written this is going to sound like an infomercial that I've made it up, but it literally just as I was coming on, he's just gone onto LinkedIn and said, the philosophy and neuroscience behind the happiness index, and Matt and his team played a key part in me meeting and joining ACCU, which is one of our customers. And he goes on to talk about how the data's helped change their culture. Like, we know because our clients keep paying the bills that they must be happy. But this guy's like 35 minutes ago, he's decided to come out of his way. I didn't ask him to do that, and he's gone and written this. But it like totally made. I was like, oh, because it's like I think everyone needs a boost, and
Oh,
like when you sew in stuff, it's just nice to get that personal bit where it's like, oh, people do value what we do. It's quite
yeah.
nice.
That's incredible what this person did for you. Like, obviously, they didn't have to do that. It was time from their busy, busy days, but they knew the impact they're going to have on you, but also on themselves by just sending the message, which is incredible. But you said that everybody needs a little boost. But I'm sure you meet a lot of people, and we meet a lot of people in our business that are a bit skeptic about appreciation for whatever reason, whether they've had bad
Yeah,
experience or they're worried about something else, but they're very skeptic. Can you tell me
definitely.
how you convert them to promoters? How do you convince them that appreciation, happiness is something that's really, really important in the workplace?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't think I actively go out and change any people that are not appreciating it. I think I've learned that a long time ago about trying to change people's minds. I don't really do that anymore. What I've found is that sometimes those people will change my behaviour where I won't display appreciation. So I'll give you an example in the football club that I'm part of at the moment. It's been really hot summer in the UK and coming into the new football season. And long story short, the groundsman is really struggling to turn the cricket pitches into football pitches because there's been no rain. And basically, all the coaches and managers are having a moan because they want to get their fixtures on. And about 4 days ago, I went to go on the WhatsApp group to see everyone moaning, and I just went to write. I just want to shout out to this guy Nick just for getting the ground as best you can. It must be tough, but I stopped doing it because I thought I'm going to get judged by the other people, the people that are basically moaning at him. But then a day later, I went back and did the same things, and I did post it, and he did appreciate it, and then other people followed it up with appreciation. So to answer your question, I don't actually try and change people's minds. I will surface data, and we'll cover that later, that will show the power of appreciation. I've learnt not to take a horse to water, and I think people have to find their own journey on that. And I feel the best way to do that is just to model it. But part of me sometimes doesn't model it because I think people will think, oh God, he's so annoying, like blah 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 or whatever. But I then bury that voice and go, you know what, actually no, I'm gonna give some appreciation here. So I do actively go out and do it. I also try and do it for strangers that I won't see again. Maybe it's someone working in a hotel or a waiter, or like if someone has given exceptional service, I will say, and I will take time to do that. And I think there's such a lack of appreciation in the world. There's a couple of times, because I'm aware of the data and how important it is, there are a couple of times in my life where I've done it and the person's cried.
Wow.
Because, like I was saying, like everyone needs a little boost. I think that comes from my parents. So they've always had me thinking about that. But sometimes someone hasn't had that in their life. They might have had quite a tough period of their life, and sometimes it hits someone really powerful. So it is really powerful. It is easy to dismiss, and I think people dismiss it in the world of work where it gets commoditized. So, for example, you could set up an automated email that went out at Friday at 4 o'clock every week and thank your team, couldn't you?
You can.
And that's the challenge of businesses that are trying to build on this important bit. It's like, how do you help without commoditizing it? Because the reason it feels special is because it's human. And that's why things like personalization and everything make a difference. So it's like, appreciation is great. We see that in our data. But how do you deliver that in a human way on scale is the challenge that big companies have. But I think some people are just cynical. They're cynical about anything, aren't they? Like, this is water here. I'm sure we could find one that doesn't drink this London tap water. And there's probably good reasons why you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But there are people like that. But I also think there's cynics because of the commoditization. They think, oh, I know why you're doing that because you're trying to get something from me. They think it's transactional. And that's the trap to avoid.
Yeah, I love what you said just there because that's what we're seeing as well. There's two types. Some people are really cynical because they've had bad experience in genuine appreciation or something that was transactional or just top down, like a tick box, you had to do it, live your values. But there's also the other bit that you need to convince with data. And you said that. So can you tell me a bit about the data that you're using about
Yeah.
appreciation?
So in our model, appreciation is one of the top 8 drivers of happiness at work, happiness and engagement at work. So we see every day it's important, but the biggest thing that we see quite consistently is appreciation for us in our model. It sits in acknowledgement. So we see acknowledgement as the wider piece, and appreciation sits within acknowledgement. Now, because acknowledgement can be as simple as like remembering someone's name. It can be like, you see it going back to the coffee shop example. I saw it yesterday, like someone's friend had come in to see them and they were like saying hello to them like whilst they were still on their phone. So they were like this, they were like this. And they were still doing something and then like their friend was there like really excited and they were still like finishing their thing. Like, and I know we all have urgent stuff, but if it is like life and death, just say to your friend, sorry David, this is just life and death, I've got to do with it. Or you put your phone in your pocket. So there is acknowledgement and then there's appreciation within it. But when you go into appreciation and acknowledgement, of all the factors that drive happiness and engagement at work, often see in data sets, we've got different data sets, that it has the highest standard deviation. Whereas something like relationships relationships is the top driver of happiness and engagement at work, and they're all connected, they're not separate. Acknowledgement and relationships go hand in hand, as does appreciation. But what we seek from relationships is quite similar. It has a low standard deviation. What we seek from acknowledgement has a high standard deviation, which is basically saying that how we want to be appreciated person to person is very different. And that's why when it gets commoditized, it feels wrong. Because I host a podcast called the Happiness Index podcast, and I had a guest on called Simon Berry, who's an expert in this area. And he recounted a time where his work gave him a Rolex watch, a really expensive Rolex watch. But if you know Simon, Simon's like me. I don't wear any jewelry. I'm not that type of person. I wouldn't like. I would if I had. I don't have, but if I had an expensive watch, it would make me feel uncomfortable. I wouldn't like wearing it about. I'd be worrying about losing it. I don't like having stuff on me, really, generally speaking. So that attempt at appreciation actually did the opposite. It made him feel unhappy. And I think in the story he goes on to say he ended up being so like not liking the watch that he sold it. But then the
Wow.
company found out that he sold it, and then they got annoyed. So what I mean by the data point of standard deviation is what hadn't been done there. There was a mismatch between what the company thought they should do for appreciation versus what the individual wanted, and that goes back to the fact that we're all different. So the homework that needs to be done by managers and leaders is you've got to find out what makes your person tick, because appreciation can do the opposite to what you're intending to if you haven't done your research.
Wow, that's brilliant. How would you suggest they find out?
It's really simple. You ask people.
Yeah.
And if you go back to like the Amazon description of a team, one pizza should be able to like one team should be able to eat from one pizza. If your team can't eat from one pizza, the team's too big. However big a company is structured, 100,000 people or 10 people, within that there should be teams that can eat from one pizza. So we're talking like 5, 6 people. I know there's people listening like myself that are thinking, well, I need a whole pizza to myself because I don't think I could share a pizza with 5 or 6 people. But we're talking about in a meeting room where everyone has a slice when you're working together.
Yeah.
But that's what you have to do. It's like all the technology in the world, like tech companies like us at the Happiness Index, that should never replace that understanding of what makes people in your team tick. So you should be asking people like, what makes you happy? Getting to know people and understanding. Like when someone leaves the company, like you should know roughly what might be a good present. And that's why appreciation fits into acknowledgement, because when you appreciate someone, if you know what they actually like, it's another form of acknowledgement because you are saying you have listened and you've got to know that person personally. If you just go and get them something that is totally,
Valuable
it's
for
not
them.
what they like or want to do, then it misses the mark and actually does the opposite. It makes people feel underappreciated.
Simple communication, isn't it?
Ask people.
Go and ask people. That's amazing. And see, when you were talking about the data of acknowledgement and appreciation, do you see any difference in terms of whether acknowledgement and appreciation is coming from a peer or from top down?
It's a really interesting one. We haven't actually got any data on that at the moment. My take on it would be um, the individual is really important and how you do it. So an example I always use is I did an appreciation shout out to our CTO once. I did a company update shout out to him, which he in turn fed back to me that he really did not like. And the reason he didn't like it is, which is I already know this. I've already worked with him for 15 years, but I was so excited about what he had done in terms of one of our technology upgrades. I just wanted to celebrate. But what I should have done is taken him for a private coffee. He would have appreciated me as CEO taking time out of my day and taking him for a coffee more than he would a few words at a
Mm.
company update because he is quite a private person. So there definitely is a link, and there's invisible power dynamics going on. I think ultimately understanding the individual will always come back to it, whether you're someone junior, senior, or on the same level.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting point that you made about private celebration versus public one. I think that's what we found for a long time with us as well. We had the board, which was a public celebration that everyone can see, everyone can participate, but there were a lot of people who actually preferred a private, like private note, private card sent to them as individuals rather than it being made such a big deal, which is
Absolutely.
what made us create the one-to-one card to allow people to be celebrated in a more private way that would fit them better.
That's a great example. And even I sometimes we do like the group cards. Sometimes I don't say what I would say privately in the public
Mm.
bit because I don't want to embarrass someone. Both are useful, aren't they? But
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
depends on it depends on the individual.
Yeah, because absolutely there's people who like to be celebrated publicly, everybody to know how amazing they are and the contribution
Yeah.
they've made, and that's perfectly fine. And there's opportunity for that to be done as well. I've got one more question about data because it's so interesting what you're sharing. And on one of the previous episodes, somebody mentioned that they really liked when they involved their personal life into the celebration at work for their anniversary. So, do you see any difference between including personal life in the celebration at work or in the acknowledgement and appreciation versus not including it and keeping it strictly professional and at work?
I think again, it just comes back to knowing the individual.
Yeah.
Some people would love that. Some people would like if you invited their children in to a presentation where you are going to be given an acknowledgement or something. Maybe let's say it's like you were working for a company for 20, 30 years and the company wanted to make a big deal because that's a long time. And some people might love that, like that they invited your children in, you're a big part of that company. But some people might hate that. And that again goes back to the research of finding out and knowing that individual and knowing what is important to them. But sometimes the best way to do is just to ask and talk about it. You can still give a nice surprise by doing a few little questions that give you a bit of a clue about which way they might want to swing on it a little bit. Like a leaving party is a good example, isn't it? Like that might be their worst nightmare, or a leaving speech might be the last nightmare. Someone might be offended if you don't have a leaving.
Yeah.
So I think again, it's just got this. To me, this is basic human stuff that you should be doing with your friends, your family, like getting to know that person, and then that makes people feel special, connected, want to go further, all that magic stuff that happens.
Yeah, no, I agree that when you said the leaving at one of the previous jobs that I was, they all got together and they told stories in front of the whole office. Honestly, my worst nightmare. I loved my card. I loved the stories in the card and everything that people took time to write. But see this public acknowledgement, I was like, oh,
I think there's a secret here, which I suppose is like the last bit of insight to leave is that generally people, you know that saying like treat people as you would like to be treated. I think that's part of the problem here. That's a lovely saying, right? I like that saying. I think in general life that's good to apply. But I think what happens is people manage how they would like to be managed. In that comes appreciation. So people tend to do it the way that they would like it to be done for them, which is, I think, is just a natural thing that we all do. So if you'd like it to be quiet, you might do it quiet for someone, or if you'd like it to be more public, you might do it more public. But I think it's a trap we all just fall into. So I think, again, it's just like trying to remember they may want it different to how you wanted it. So like you said it was your worst nightmare to having the public one. Someone in your team, that may be like the perfect send off for them.
I love that. Just make sure you know the people you work with, have a conversation. And my last thing is if somebody's looking to start acknowledging their colleagues or their teams more and showing them appreciation, what would you suggest to start?
I think it goes back to the coffee shop. I think you just got to get to know someone. It could be a virtual coffee, like we're not meeting in real life here, but we're getting to know each other. I think you just got to get to know people. I know, and I would add a second bit to that, and just remember that people change. So how someone was appreciated this year might be different next year. When you become a parent, as you know, it changes you. When I was in my early career, like I might have liked a bottle of whiskey. Since I've become a parent, I gave up alcohol because I just couldn't do parenting work and stuff like that. So I gave it up. So if someone gave me a bottle of alcohol now, which does happen, like sometimes you go to a hotel, like I'll go to a hotel on business, happens quite a lot, and they go, "Oh, here's a nice bottle of wine for you," and
Yeah,
it just makes me feel like you just don't know me,
yeah.
even though I know what they're trying to do is a good thing. But maybe if I'd gone back there 5 years ago, longer than that, I'd gone back there as in my 20s, I might have thought that was brilliant. Like, oh, this hotel's brilliant. They give me a free bottle of wine. I'd have been like, oh, it's fantastic. I think one again, it's hard yards. You have to sit down. You have to spend time, and you have to care enough about this stuff to make the time. And then when you make the time, remember people change and circumstances of what they may be or going through in their own life might change.
That's amazing. Wow. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time, sharing all this with us. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you for inviting me on.
Thanks for listening to Lead with Thanks. You've heard so many brilliant examples of how appreciation can make a difference in people's lives. If you found this episode helpful, make sure to share it with your colleagues and follow us on LinkedIn for more daily insights. If you want to put gratitude into action right now, send a thank box and make someone's day. Until next time, keep leading with thanks.